Hey folks, it's Ray with Taste Radio. Right now, I'm honored to be sitting down with Taylor Foxman, the founder and CEO of the Industry Collective. Taylor, great to see you.
Thank you, Ray, for having me on. This has been on my bucket list for can't even tell you how long. So anyway, I'm very excited. I even put my hair down. I'm on video. This is like hell freezes over for me, but for Ray and for BevNet, I'm excited. So thank you for the opportunity in advance. I really appreciate it.
Well, an interview with you has been on our bucket list as well, so I'm really happy that we made this happen. You're based in New York, in a bright room. It looks like an office, but is this your house doubled as an office?
House is a stretch, but yes, this is my apartment. I I'm in my mid 30s, and New York living is this, which is I still am in an apartment with no doors, minus a closet and a bathroom. But so my husband configured my office space, and it's a loft like space. And so he's configured it in a way where I do sit by the window. So I feel like I have some outdoor, some sense of what's happening outside. But in reality, I've been working from home since the business launched, so almost 5 years. But I have my dog, Miss Linda, who's sitting behind me, and that's she's employee number one. Okay.
Impressive. So, I mean, it is true. COVID era or otherwise, you can
Yeah.
build a pretty significantly sized business from your home. And you
Yeah.
have done just that, a very well respected business at that. You and I have known each other for some time, beginning with my work at BevNet and then continuing on through Taste Radio. I've worked with a number of your clients, interviewed a number of your clients for the show. I'm sure that listeners know who Taylor Foxman is, but for the two that don't, tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. My background is all things beverage. I've been in the space since I was 19. I jokingly say that I was paid in vodka bottles, but I was. I started working for Svedka as an intern when I was in college, postponed a master's at USC in California, and started working on the agency side for Pernod Ricard when I was 21. Um, I've been in New York for 15 years, albeit I still don't see myself as a New Yorker. All of the collective members were like, "You're definitely a New Yorker. You've been here for that long." And I was like, I still feel like an outsider. Been in New York for 15 years and spent the crux of my career working for mostly the C suite of a lot of the largest global alcohol companies in the world, including Gruppo Campari, Stoli Group, Pernod Ricard on and off for almost 10 years, Boston Beer, uh, Patron, Mass Jägermeister. I kind of just raised my hand. I started actually in public relations and communications, which is when I met you, right? And then just wanted to learn more. And so I got into sales strategy and engagement, corporate social responsibility, venture capital. And then about 5 years ago, through the executive team at Patron, I got pulled into cannabis, and I was part of kind of this first ever like corporate cannabis holding company, as to which it was me, a lot of the executive team behind Patron, um, Bo Wrigley of Wrigley Gum, and a few people from Walgreens at a C-suite level, and got pulled into a huge SPAC M&A deal when I was 28 or 29 in cannabis. And the collective started right around then. So I had two full-time jobs for many years where originally I just got connected to founders of originally early stage beverage companies here in the US through my network. So through big banks and VCs and family offices and talent agencies. And they all just said, Taylor can help. So I took it on. I formed an LLC almost 5 years ago, which is now an S Corp. And I started advising companies like Beatbox Beverage and Speakeasy Co. and brands that I'm still with almost 5 years later. Almost, in and around, I think even pre-COVID, which is crazy. And back ended a very big business for myself. So had a lot of jobs, had two jobs, as I said, for, over 2 years, almost three, I believe. And in the last 2 years alone, through referral. So no decks, no business card, very outdated website. I'm sorry for anyone who has ever looked at my website. My banking husband did it a long time ago. Um, all through referral in the last 2 years alone, the business has gone from me advising five early stage beverage companies here in the United States to now 80 CEOs all over the world.
You seem to touch every aspect of the beverage industry and beyond, from finance to marketing to PR to advisement. I assume you even mess around with formulation from time to time. And you're also known as a pitch slam judge, that of the Cocktail Showdown, BevNet's Cocktail Showdown, where you joined us as a judge last year during BevNet Live Winter 2023.
Thank you for that opportunity. That was very fun.
It was very fun. Yeah, the winner of that competition, Ponyboy Slings, pretty amazing brand, and just excited to have you as a part of that. So thank you again.
It was a really great opportunity. It was so cool to see kind of that wave of emerging brands and just, see the innovation that's out there and the excitement around the category. And, you bring those people together. So thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciated it.
I appreciate you saying that, and hope to have you back if we can get you back. Fantastic.
I love it.
So, I mentioned before we hopped on the mics that I wanted to frame this conversation a little different than what I normally do, and do kind of a true or false with Taylor Foxman segment here on Taste Radio. Again, you have such broad experience in this industry, and you've touched so many aspects of how great brands are built. And so I think this is not necessarily a hard and fast true or false, but an opinion-based one. And I think someone with the experience that you have, I think it's probably closer to a hard and fast truth than an opinion-based one. But let's start. Okay, easy one. Easy one to me, I think. Having a great tasting product is the most important factor for success in the beverage industry. True or false?
False. However, I have a question. Am I supposed to give you more context when I answer it, or are you good with just true or false?
Context is always great.
Okay, false. I do not think actually taste matters as much as people think. In my apartment, we have a swap in, swap out rule. So I can only bring things in if I get something out the door. I still live in New York City, so I have a hard time bringing in a lot of product at this point into the apartment. I even have a storage locker downstairs that my husband made for me. I think there are so many factors that go into like what makes a brand grow and successful, and taste is important. Look, like if you have a product that has, crappy taste, no offense, I don't know how to say this in a better way. Like at the end of the day, it's a non-starter for anyone, right? Like distributors aren't going to take you on if you have a product that doesn't taste good. Investors won't give you money if you have a product that won't taste good. So in the context, it matters. Is it kind of the leading non-starter? Not, in my opinion, not necessarily at all. I think there has to be something. Maybe it's like, something proprietary, whether it's an IP, whether it's the target demographic that you've just nailed. It has to be something else. And I think taste factors into it, but it's not priority number one, I think, for most of the stakeholders that matter to these people at this point.
Bad PR is better than no PR. True or false?
False. It's hard to get yourself out of bad PR. I did crisis communication for too many years that I'd like to admit. I do think putting yourself into the equation of polarizing topics is worthwhile. For example, when I was involved with Jim Koch for Boston Beer, I helped Jim with an op-ed for the New York Times. And he wanted to do a story about, the state of the craft beer industry. And he said to me, Taylor, I have a lot of thoughts. They're fairly polarizing, but I think we should do it. And it was right before Donald Trump became president. And I was like, there's no way in heck that we're getting an op-ed in the New York Times right now. Like, are you kidding me? About kind of like an evergreen time. I mean, there were things swirling in the craft beer industry, but it was not, mission critical topic number one in the United States. And we, reached out to Clay Rizin, who's an op-ed editor for the Times, and we got approved. And we actually had the story written in the Times right before Trump became president, and it was on the state of the craft beer industry. And virtually Jim's take and our take was, when you're grabbing craft beer from a shelf, just understand that you may think it's craft. It's not. It's probably one of the larger 5 conglomerates. That was risky doing that. We went into it understanding that we would get harsh feedback and criticism. just given people's thoughts and stance on Boston beer at that point in time. But we did it because we thought that there would be positive outcomes regardless, right? So we would kind of take the good and the bad. I think it's very hard to backpedal from bad press, especially if you know in advance it's coming. I would do everything I can to try to mitigate it in advance, to see a story if you can prior to it being written, to have it, if possible, do some form of, recording or written transcribed Q&A, just ways to just, again, mitigate the chances that something comes out that you had no idea. It's very hard to go back from that.
Well, you would know. As you mentioned, you've been doing this for a long time.
I would know.
Yeah, let's get to another truth or true or false here. I was about to say truth or dare. We're past those days, aren't we?
It's too early in the day to start drinking and then get into truth. Maybe next time when you're in New York City, we'll do a truth or dare.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna hold you to that, Taylor. All right.
Let's do it.
True or false? You would invest in a brand that you don't use in your own personal life or have a personal connection to. True or false?
Oh, I love this one. Yeah, 100%. There are a lot of brands that I work with that, if you even go back to like the taste, right? Discussing the taste. I don't always have to. So when I get approached, all the business has been 90% of the business has actually been referral, which is really cool. And I'm super grateful for that. Saved me a lot of money on marketing. Every time that I get an inbound from a partner, I always have to find that unique value proposition, right? We talked a little bit earlier, like what is unique about this company? I cannot take something on if I don't feel there's something uniquely, substantially different. However, in terms of taste of a product, I don't always have to like the product, but I have to believe that there's an audience that does. And if I can't, I can't move forward with it. So even on the investment side, I work closely, with, I don't know how many venture capital firms at this point. I believe that it is important that you believe that there is someone who can drink the product. I have seen, and I am part of groups where they may not necessarily agree that they like the liquid, but we have to believe that there is an audience for it.
Curveball coming. Maybe not. True or false? Below Deck Mediterranean is your favorite reality TV show.
It was. I mean, I still watch it every week. I think that the guests, the quality of the guests have gone down so considerably. It used to be you would watch it and they would walk down that little deck and you just know chaos is going to ensue. Whether they have like these big hats or they're like influencers or they're fitness instructors. So I was always like, all right, what drama is going to happen on this boat? And my dad, for context, by day my dad is a surgeon and by night he's a sailor. So I've grown up on various types of Melgises and J105s and catamarans and boats all across the world. So I like it because of that and because of the drama. I don't know if you watch it, but I think I still enjoy the show, but I think the drama has gone down notably because I think the guests are just calmer. Maybe they don't drink as much. I don't know, but I'm not as entertained as I used to be, unfortunately.
Okay, so it's a false for you.
It's a false.
I would have thought that you would have had some sort of contact with one of the characters on the show. I call it characters. One of the people on the show.
I may have something to do with one of them, perhaps.
Okay. Well, there was an alcoholic coconut water brand that one of the actors on the show. I don't know what to call them. The people on the show. I said character. I said actor. Yes, her name is Aisha
it's
Scott.
A mix. It's a mix, right?
Yeah. Okay, so you may be advising a member on the show, is what you're saying.
I may be in some discussions with someone on the show who's looking for some, brands that they could align with strategically.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. All right. Mysterious, but very interesting. Okay. The next three truths or falses are related.
Okay.
First one is moderation is the new sober curious. True or false?
True. I think that's the direction that we're going. I think I could go on about this for a very long time. I did a story in Rolling Stone kind of around this topic, like headwinds for the spirits industry and how it kind of speaks to the larger moment in time that we're in, which is I feel like we're at a notable inflection point. I don't think this is all or nothing game. I think there are so many articles that are out there right now talking about, are we going into prohibition era, blah, blah, blah. I don't see that happening. What I do believe is that people are, and I'm curious your thoughts, Ray, but I think people are getting smarter. I think there's more competition, and I think there's less money to be spent on X products, right? So I think as part of that, yes, I think moderation plays a notable role. I think people are just more mindful. I think they still, for the most part, want to enjoy. And again, some people don't want to drink at all, and that's totally fine. And that is a huge part of the consumer base at this point. I don't know exactly the percentage who don't drink at all, but I do know that people are incorporating traditional beverages, non-alcoholic beverages, functional beverages across the board because they want to incorporate, I guess, more mindful drinking patterns and consumption habits or whatever. They want to incorporate more mindful drinking behaviors. So I think moderation is here to stay. I don't see us getting into the kind of that overconsumption mode that we were in. I think like at the height of COVID, I think people are, they want to drink. They just want to drink better and maybe drink a little bit less and have other options. I don't know what you think, but that's kind of my stance on it.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that. I think people in my age group, I see having a beer and then 2 seltzer waters or 2 glasses of wine and a seltzer water. And it's not 3 alcoholic beverages as their drinks of the night. I mean, it's happening less and less and less. And a lot of people are saying the same things. It's I have other responsibilities. I don't want to wake up tired. Certainly don't want to wake up with a hangover. And so, instead of having no drinks, they may have 1 or 2, but then supplement it with water or some sort of other beverage in the meantime. The thing I don't see changing as much, and this is the next true or false, is Gen Z consumers consuming more alcohol. But true or false, Gen Z consumers will consume more alcohol as they get older.
I don't think so. False.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, I've been reading a lot of research. I talk to a lot of people that are much more on the data side of things. I'm not. It's just, everything I say is just based on what I hear and what I see through my network and my collective. One interesting fact was around, when they queried that demo, they said, well, during COVID, I didn't have the opportunity to go out and drink with my friends so even just like kind of the situation as to which a lot of these people were in, like kind of, I don't know. They just didn't have maybe the same environment that we grew up in, which is, we can go sneak out, see our friends, have drinks, grab something from the cabinet. I don't know. Like, I think COVID played a large factor into it. I think also just when you have a generation that maybe just another thing, I'm rambling a little bit here, but another thing that I thought was a really interesting insight as to why they're not drinking as much is they saw their parents overconsume. And they don't want to be in that position. So I thought that was a really interesting insight. And then also it's just like, I grew up in a generation of people where everyone was drinking, maybe some earlier than, legal age to drink. However, that was just part of the culture of when I was growing up. Like that was part of what you did when you went out, right? Once you were of legal drinking age. But if you grow up in an era where you're out with friends, and whether it's at a party, at a sporting event, at a dinner, and that's not the norm, I just don't know if there's enough from like a marketing engine perspective to all of a sudden just like change the dynamic and make it this something that generation will be like, well, now I see that everything. I mean, celebrities have been associated with alcohol now for many, many years, right? So it's not like all of a sudden there's going to be some celebrity that's going to come out that's going to change their mind, or some research that all of a sudden alcohol is in fact great for you. So I don't know. I don't know what it would take. Do you know what I mean? To make that happen, when I think this generation is just seeing it from a different lens. They didn't have the same opportunity to necessarily like explore with alcohol the way that I felt like I did when I was growing up. And I don't think they're going to have the same societal pressure. So I'm not sure how that would happen, if I'm to be honest.
Well, 2 follow-ups on that. One, you and I both went to BU, and I think during our respective times at the university, I don't think I knew, I can say this for myself, I don't think I knew anyone who didn't drink unless they didn't drink for religious reasons. Everyone else I
I
knew
didn't
drank
either.
alcohol.
I didn't
Yeah.
either. I didn't either. Same.
I think that's there's a humongous shift change that we've seen. I know
Right.
plenty of people who are just out of college. I don't know almost anybody who was in college, but plenty of people, including those who work at BevNet, who don't drink alcohol, and they are 24, 25 years old. So that's been a big change. On the other hand, I remember there was a time when Taylor Swift, earlier into her career, would always talk about how she didn't drink. And then
Uh,
eventually, she started drinking alcohol. Now she's more categorized as a millennial. But
yeah.
yeah, I wonder if people kind of look at that and say, well, I don't have to drink now, but maybe I'll have a glass of wine. And then, as I get older, I can be more responsible about it. But I do think you're right about the fact that some people just don't want to be out of control, don't want to lose their ability to function in a way that they want to function in.
And I think too, what I think has been honestly the most freeing part, and I'm using the word freeing part about the last, let's say like what, 2 years, I would say 2 or 3 years, is there is no stigma anymore.
Right.
Honestly, I don't really care who drinks. I don't care who does drink, who doesn't drink. Everyone can make their own choices about that. What I think has been great is twofold. Like, one is optionality. There are so many brands out there right now, which is why I work from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. I try to take Friday off. That has failed miserably. My therapist will not be happy with me. But the point is like, first, optionality. I think it's so great that there are so many options out there. There are bigger brands like an Athletic that now if you want to go, and Liars, if you want to go to any type of venue, sporting arena, concert, you want to go to a movie theater, whatever, you can find an option, whether it's water, it's a poppy, it doesn't matter. So that part of optionality, I think, is so exciting because, it's one thing to say, okay, now the stigma is away, you can have what you want, but there are no options, right? So the
Right.
fact that there are now options and there is no stigma around anymore, I think is just very freeing for people, meaning that you could do whatever the heck you want. And I would say, I've cut all dinner meetings because I'm not really drinking as much anymore. I don't drink during the week. I haven't in years. And on the weekends, if I want to have a glass of wine or, one drink, but that's really it. But I just like being able to have options, and I like not having to explain myself, to your point. And so I think that goes back to the moderation. I think it's just like the last story I did for Rolling Stone was like, choose your own adventure was the title. And
Yeah.
I think that is the future. Choose your own adventure with alcohol and I think moderation is going to play a huge factor in that as well. You're right.
Well, part of that new optionality includes cannabis beverages. Now, cannabis beverages aren't necessarily a replacement for a non-alcoholic beverage,
Correct.
but they're a replacement for alcoholic beverages, and they have become that. So,
Yeah.
true or false, beverages will eventually become the most consumed form of cannabis.
Oh, yes. I I also can go on about this for a very long time. We're not going to do a tour of my fridge, but the entire top shelf is all cannabis beverages. I came from the can.
We should do a follow-up. We should do something that teases this episode where we do go through your fridge. We'll do that on TikTok or Instagram or something.
I would love to do that. And you could do my bar cart, which is extended halfway into my living room in this one room that has no doors. Again, only point of contention with my husband, knock on wood. I, I, I sat down with one of the largest, so I work as a partner of record for all the global corporate strategics, right? Ray, that's where I came from. So I work with all the big corporate M&A groups in-house. What are you seeing? Who should we invest in? Who should we partner with, right? And I was sitting down with one of the largest top 3 global wine and spirit companies in the world a few months ago at their offices. And they said, oh, well, we think our headwinds are this, 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 this. I said, I pulled out pixelated cannabis and a cannabis beverage. And I said, no, your biggest headwind will be, in my opinion, cannabis beverages. I think this has gone, I think that subcategory within cannabis has evolved so quickly. I am just wildly impressed with what they've been able to do, some of these brands. When you think about it, you now have and I don't need to go into names of brands per se, but forget about the brand names. You have companies that are creating bottles that look like Patron bottles, frosted bottles that are directly shipped to your door. Okay. No ID needed, direct to consumer, that are flavorless, calorieless, and you have 2 milligrams, 5 milligrams of THC per serving. I'm just using this as an example, right? Case that you can make a cannabis lemonade or whatever you want, whatever drink you want. You have it, same similar effect of like, you feel good, you feel giddy, you feel happy. Not everyone has the same, response to cannabis. I'm not making that claim, but a lot of people do have a nice kind of relaxed high from it. And then you wake up the next day, calorieless, flavorless, no hangover, direct to consumer. I think that when the cannabis beverage thing started, there was a lot of regulatory hurdles, and there still are, right? On the regulatory side of cannabis, it is still the wild, wild west. Don't get me wrong. But I think in the last year or two alone, the innovation that they've been able to do in the category with being able to ship to consumers, make things that are flavorless, calorieless, flavorful, in formats like an RTD or an RTS format, I am just so bullish on this. I'm a consumer of the category. I think it's great. Do I think that they're going to go? I don't see this like being the only headwind that a spirits company has right now. But if I were a spirits company, I would be closely watching the category because they're also making it into retail as well as we speak.
All right. A big true from Taylor about cannabis beverages.
True.
A big true.
Big true, yeah. Big
okay.
True. Big true.
Switching gears to investment, entrepreneurs need to be able to present well and speak articulately to raise money. True or false?
True, with a little bit more added to that. I think fundraising is a full-time job. There was someone that said to me that there should be someone who's like a CEO of the business and then like, president of fundraising or something. I help out of the 80 brands I work for, probably 60. I'm not kidding. Seed to late stage with fundraising all the time. The minute you're done with fundraising, you need to think of the next round and the next, especially if you have to keep raising for your business. And people know the businesses that need to continue to inject capital, right? Like there are businesses that just will continually need money. I think, yes, being well-spoken is important, but I think it's way more than that, if I can be honest. I think it's the way I've built my whole career. I've never applied for a job. I'm 36. I've just built a global network of people in my ecosystem where I have no MO. And I think what's more important than speaking well and articulately, speaking with, with conviction and having a great deck and all that stuff is actually building relationships with these investors and identifying whatever growth phase you're at, like who makes sense for your business, whether it's an angel investor, whether it's a bigger corporate M&A. I'm not saying that they're going to put money in right away, but go in with an open mind, like literally stop thinking about things while they're talking to you and just understand what these people want and like digest what they're looking for. And if they say check back. If they say you're not the right fit, move on. If they say they need more information, follow up. So I think what's more important in my mind, Ray, is like less about how they present and more about how they absorb what they're being told, how they follow up, how they genuinely like engage with these people. And I think those and keep these investors apprised. Most of the time, they're not going to get investment for the first probably 2 times they reach out to these people, right? But it's the third time or the third email or the fourth call where something sticks. So I think it's more about persistence, it's engagement, it's relationship strategy. But I think being well-spoken also plays a factor as well.
Yeah. Also being memorable. This is something I always tell people who present in our Pitch Slam competitions is, you're up against anywhere between 5 to 11 other people who are vying for that crown. And inevitably, judges forget some of those presenters. It just happens. There's just a lot of people up there. And if you're not memorable for one reason or another, you're going to get forgotten. It's not a good thing.
Oh, that's a great example. So when we were doing the the competition, the RTD competition, there was a fellow who I can say it. So his name is Nicholas Bradley, who wore gold pants. I don't know if you remember this.
Of
He had
course.
gold pants on. And this is the Val. Great segue. And he has a company called Dio Cocktails, also part of the collective. And so we met through that. Thank you again, Ray and team. And so he gets on the stage, and I don't know, Ray, if you remember, but like I couldn't think about anything other than his pants. And he's like, oh, the liquid's so great, and blah, 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 blah. And I love it. And I just like stopped him. I'm like, I am so sorry. All I can think about are your pants. And my husband still today is like, are you still working with the pant guy? I'm like, well, he's not a pant guy. He owns a big company, whatever. But he wanted to present himself in a way that spoke to who he was. And I found out through that competition, and later having subsequently started to work with him, his background was in fashion, right? And so he owned a swimwear line. I think it could be whatever you want it to be. But it has, you're right. Like going back to, maybe I don't feel comfortable wearing gold pants, but maybe something, you just have to find your, what I always call it, I've told you this before, like what's your so what? And I think, even something along the lines of just what you're wearing. And if you could, if it's something that's just like speaks to you and who you are, like that in of itself can be memorable. It doesn't have to be anything more than that. Totally.
And you know what? I'm so happy you mentioned that, because I was trying to get that out of you, and it was exactly what I expected. So thank you for that. Last one, true or false? And this is very related to the last one.
Yes.
Great brands always have a great founder story.
No, false.
Okay.
False. Sometimes I think it's important. I'm going to write a story about it soon around, for people that are fundraising, founders are really sleeping on thought leadership, in my opinion, other than the ones that I work with. I think it's really important for founders, if it's still founder led, to get out there and share their story on LinkedIn, sign up for councils where you can write for magazines, like just do stuff to like get out there and share your story. However, I do get brought into brands where, maybe it's a change of ownership, or maybe they don't have a really cool, interesting backstory, but they have a really cool product or something really proprietary. I do think in a market like we're in, given how competitive it is, I think that they should share their story. But I don't think it's a non-starter. If there isn't that really strong founder story, if there's something else that sticks out, that's like uniquely distinct about the business.
All right. Well, if I were to be asked true or false about this interview and whether or not I enjoyed it, I would say 1000% true. This has been fantastic, Taylor. Thank you so much. I really
Thank you for having me on. This is so nice. Thank you. We'll do the Instagram. We'll do the what's in my fridge. I think I did that during COVID. We'll do the bar cart, i.e. my living room, which is the bar cart, whenever you want.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I know how busy you are, so I really appreciate the time. And I know our audience is going to love this conversation. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ray, so much. I really appreciate it.